What's up, everyone? Kane here with Gear 5 Productions, captain of the Day's Pirates. Going through RP Luffy as we go into another week of league play. Recording this quick deck tech before we head out tonight. A couple quick adjustments from last week. Already, honestly, very surprised and happy with the engagement on some of these videos, honestly. I'm hoping to get better footage tonight and kind of slingshot this forward. Pretty excited about it. But going into this week, league play week 4, I believe it is. I missed the first week, and this is now the first catch-up week. So luckily, I'm right below the threshold to get double points tonight. So very important games tonight going into these next couple weeks. So right now, I think I'm in 12th or 13th, like right on the bottom half of the league. That's why I get the catch-up points. Gonna run through some cards in the list overall. Wanted to mention the changes from last week, but also going to talk a little bit more about the specific cards and the way we're working with it, just kind of to catch everyone up. So from last week, we did switch the slow beams to slow beam swords. So it's a 2-cost Don -1. We're not really going to play this until that Don -1 doesn't matter to us anymore, but it's a 2k counter and then rest up to one of your opponent's characters. And that's unrestricted. So my thoughts are a lot of opponents, especially like when they're going taller, they're checking 6k before they send in their boss monsters, their 9k, their 10ks, their 12ks. So I can counter out of that 6k and then also, rest out another character for a quick 2-for-1. Still 2 of them might be, I don't know, a little bit much with the way I'm running that. There's no way you could defeat me, but those 2 are plugged in. Then the other 2 swaps have been, we're off the Purple Searcher. We're off the Purple Searcher, but we're not back on Queens. I don't fully believe in that card still. I just don't ever want to be playing it. Had my crewmate Teddy and some others play a couple games with Queens, and I don't know. Still feel like I just don't want to be playing it. So we'll talk some more about that in the games. I have a couple of cards in mind that might be swapped out for it. But kind of off the top here, 10 slots to Nami. She's our Straw Hat Searcher. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck for a Straw Hat card and put it into your hand. So a great like filtering card cantrip effect. And then Radical Beam is also a Straw Hat card. 1 cost, 4k counter if we have 2 or less power. We talked about last week how my leader only has 3k power, or 3 life rather. Only have to take 1 life before that's fully online. And then Diable Jambe is a 1-cost event that's also Straw Hat searchable and makes one of my Straw Hat characters or leaders unblockable. So it's just a one cost win con sometimes, especially in the black-yellow Luffy matchup, which is big in the meta right now. So 10 slots are kind of dedicated to that immediately as it currently stands. And then I have a couple additional counters here with the slow beam sword. There's no way you could defeat me. I mentioned how this is one of my one-ofs last week that I'm a really big fan of. But KO up 20 of your opponent's characters with base 6k or less. 2 I think is too many, but it's phenomenal. Then the other change here is that I did make Frankies into Otamas, and then also re-allotted the Purple Searcher. Because like I said, I'm off that now. So we moved 1 Purple Searcher into Otama, 1 into Miss All Sunday from last week. And made the 2 Frankies into Otamas. So it's just a 2k. It's not Straw Hat searchable anymore, but we're still at over 20 Straw Hat searchables. So it gives a little bit more reach to some of our KO effects on play. Give up to one of your opponent's characters 2k or less. So we still probably are just going to play it as a 2k most of the time, but maybe it combos with a Robin or a Newgate in a place that matters. Specifically, I'm thinking in the Bonney matchup, being able to pop in a Rouge might be nice with that. But I don't know. Frankies just haven't been super relevant, and I'm not searching for Frankies off of Nami basically ever. So I think that's a pretty healthy swap. And I'm also up 1 2k from last week as well while I'm at it. We're on 10 total ramp. So our ramp here is 3 Zoro Juros. So like I said last week, a lot of people think 4 is pretty important. I think 3 is plenty. I only want him when I'm going first and going on turn 2, really. So when attacking, if you have 3 or less life, which my leader inherently does, we get an active Don. So it helps convert that mid game into the late game very effectively for this deck. There's 3 of those, and then when I'm going second or a follow-up to that is a 4-cost Mr. 2. On play, get an active Don, and it's a 1k, but when it's attacking, it copies the power of one of your opponent's characters until the end of turn. So it's very vulnerable to be swung back into, but it's just very effective. And then in certain matchups, you can copy, you know, a 9k, a 10k, 12k sometimes, so it's huge. And then my last ramper is Miss All Sunday. I'm on 3, so that kind of rounds out the 10 total cards that go me positive and Don. Add 1, make it rested, and if you have 6 or more, Don, draw a card. And there's a trigger for this to be played out of life, so that will be relevant sometimes. I take a hit, and then I get to draw a card and make a body that might make the difference before I gear 5 or when I'm going for lethal. With the fact that I'm still not on queens, I'm on 7 total blockers among my 7 base 2Ks. So Sanji, 07, really a big purple card now. It's a 6-cost, 6k blocker, but if you have 2 less Don than your opponent, it costs -3. So sometimes there's some cheeky plays where if I play something that gives me -1 and then use an attack or another effect, it will allow me to play it for freely. Or after I gear 5, it's a 3-cost blocker. But it's also just a Straw Hat 2k. If I'm going to search a 2k, that's the one I'm going to grab. But realistically, I want to grab my Radical Beams, my Jambe's, or my Gear 5s when I play my Namis. So that's why I kind of moved to Otamas as well. My other 3 blockers are 3 Trafalgar Law 4-cost. In this meta where everyone's playing monocolor, or a lot of people are playing monocolor, or they're playing a Nell or a yellow deck where they're getting some early card advantage, being able to just rip 2 cards from their hand is massive. It's still a blocker. Overall, I think blockers are just very vulnerable in this current meta that if I'm in the top tables, I can't just count on playing a blocker and passing. So I'm trying to play a little bit more aggressively than that. So we have 7 total blockers between Law and Sanji's. I'm going to be tracking maybe Law's Miss All Sundays and Atama counts for maybe if we want to go to like 2 queens in here somehow. Again, I don't know. I still don't fully believe in queen, but we'll talk some more about that in the gameplay. Then going to the top end, we shored that up. We moved the 2 Kitten Killers because we're off the Purple Surgers into 2 Dragons. The reason I liked Kitten Killers is the fact that it was the same amount of kind of power if the opponent's at 2 or less when I swing in with everything. But realistically, being able to swing back into a 9k versus into a 5k Kitten Killer is a much different board presence. So I think this is going to be a little bit more effective in certain matchups and just kind of in converting in the more aggressive nature that we're taking this deck. So we have 2 of those. We're still on 3 kids. 2 Ions, we talked about this last, okay, I don't want to skip completely past kid. Kind of a staple of the deck. On play and when attacking, tuck a Don. And then my leader gets up to, or plus 1,000 until the start of my next turn. So I pass with a 7,000 power leader. I play this on curve, get a 7,000 power leader, and the next turn I swing in with it, have a 7,000 power leader for the following turn as well. And then my opponent has to try and deal with it. Huge. Really love that promo of it as well. So 3 of those, really want, if I'm going second, the dream is Mr. 2 into Kid. Otherwise, I kind of want to weave him into my late game if I'm going first. Ein. This enables a 2-card kind of KO combo with a couple other cards. So on play, set one of my opponent's characters to 0 power during this turn. I'm on 2 of them. It's still a 6,000 power body, which is still relevant. But if I play a Newgate and then follow it up with her, I can KO basically anything on the board. Or we do have our Straw Hat searchable Nico Robin 2 of here. That is a 1-cost KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 1,000 power or less. So we're on 2 of them right now in the meta. Your green matchups are going to have Rosinante. Your black matchups are going to have Rebecca. Your purple matchups are going to have Mr. 2. Those are all highly valuable targets for a 1-cost exchange, or it's just a 1k counter to exchange. Or with Ein, I KO Gecko Morios with it sometimes, and then I get to leave up Don for other things. Or with Ein, and I have Newgate, I leave one Don up after swinging 12k. Newgate, staple of the deck, along the same vein as Eustace Captain Kidd. On play, give my leader plus 2,000 until the start of my next turn. The second effect doesn't matter because I'm not a Newgate leader, but then the bottom effect is Don X2, so I attach 2 Don with it and then attack, and it will KO at 3,000 power or less. So that combos with Ein, and that's also the kind of secondary reason, like I mentioned with Otama, to add her to potentially maybe pop a 5,000 or something like that to get it out of my way. Then at the top end from last week, we had 4 Newgates. We moved the 4th Newgate into a Gear 5. We didn't really talk formally about this on play. Don -10, put all that Don away, bottom all your creatures or characters, and take an extra turn. And then once per turn, pay 1 Don to get an active Don. So that's the win con. I always want to see it. I do still think Tempo Gear 5 is a way to cantrip and play it to the board, especially with Sanji. If I have been controlled by a Lucci, Lucci's cleared my board, I get to 10 Don, play Gear 5, swing 7,000 with my leader, go to my extra turn, swing 6,000 with my leader, swing 12,000 with Luffy, my Gear 5, and then I play a Sanji. I have a 6k blocker up, and then I have 1 Don up for a Radical Beam. It's a decent tempo play. Obviously, we'd rather have a board full of great creatures or characters to swing into before Gear 5, but it helps convert. And in a lot of matchups, just being able to have that, I don't want to have to spend a turn looking for it, I guess is the way I'm looking at it. Kind of goes back to not wanting queens. I don't want to just have to play something I don't want to be at 10 Don and play a Nami hoping to hit a Gear 5. I want to have them. If I have to Jet Gatling it away at some point later, I think I skipped over this. I didn't talk about this. Is the only counter I didn't talk about. It is Straw Hat searchable. It's a 0 cost. You trash 1 card from your hand to get plus 3,000 to your leader or character. So that helps me unbrick some of these no counter cards. We'll be tracking it. Maybe I'm still too aggressive. Maybe I need queens in here for an Otama, a Law, or a Miss All Sunday. But right now I'm thinking the way Miss All Sunday cantrips through my mid game should be good. But we'll see tonight, everyone. So I appreciate already the engagement we're getting. Like, comment, subscribe. I mentioned Days Pirates briefly in the intro. We'll talk some more about that during the gameplay. That's my group that kind of got me into One Piece, and I'm pretty excited about. We'll probably start a separate channel for them. But yeah, Gear 5 Productions. Very excited and ready to keep moving here with Red Purple Luffy. Have a good one. Alrighty, everyone. Got a little bit of a different setup, camera and editing here. Still some things I want to adjust, but jumping into gameplay, going to try and run through 5 games, a couple iterations here, so hopefully we're good to go. But yeah, excited with how the deck played. It was catch-up week in League, which means because I was on the bottom half of the leaderboard, because I had missed the first week, I got double points tonight, so every win really mattered to kind of swing me back into the leaderboard and things, so jump right in. My first game here was against my crewmate, Teddy. Fellow Days Pirate. A lot of the grinding and playtesting I've done has been with him. Got in the game at the same time as me and Dempsey, so we're kind of the crew that we've all been jumping over from Magic into this game. So he won the die roll, wanted to go second. I got to play a Nami turn 1 into a Zorojuro, exactly what you want to see. He knows here that obviously 6 is going to be followed by Zoro. He's mathing out. Being able to check this Zoro is not the easiest thing, but there is opportunity for him to do it, so kind of hoping that he can't, obviously. He kind of pauses here expecting me to counter, which is kind of funny because he plays against me like all the time, so it can happen to the best of us, right? Minus 2 to Zoro, minus KO to Zoro. Brooke would never. I was like, you know me from time. Oh, wait, he's 6K. So yeah, he had to blow a 2K and Brooke to check my ramp. So pretty big deal. Especially with how, I can get ahead with that. So here I'm debating if he takes his life, he goes up to 7 cards. I could use my law, but again, not being able to ramp and then going down and down is just not where we want to be at. So we send 7k in with Nami. Pressure that life, and being able to take 3 life already off of him, just commanding position for me. I think I should take the first 6. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So much.
Yeah, that's it, I guess. I've been told that before too.
So let's just go 4 in the lead minus KO and then start there.
KO the Nami. And it's relevant here too, like a lot of people with RP Luffy are afraid of that being down a life, right? Most 2 color leaders have 4 life, I get 3. But if you look at this, he uses 1 down on his leader to be able to check me. If this was a 5k leader, he puts that down on Brook, checks me for 5k, then checks me with leader for 5k, and then has the 5-drop ability that he's about to play a Sabo here. So, like that difference alone, I already made up the card, and then from here I can go positive on cards that would have been taken from me had I been a base 5k leader. So he's cycling out with his Sabo here. 1k and a brick.
Active, draw. If only I could play in Lupe. My looting would be so much better.
7 for you just got the kid.
We got the kid. I have 7k. I do go into life here. I could go into Brook, but I kind of figure if he wants to use that Brook to KO my kid, he's going to block with Sabo anyways. So I'll just pressure his life and see what we can do there, and just kind of make him use his turn and resources, KOing everything. Kind of a funny thing too here with the die. You'll notice that maybe I don't do that every game, and I kind of mention it there. I don't know. We play at a very high level at the shop in general, and especially at the winter tables. I'm not trying to shark anyone particularly, but just kind of it's something I'm keeping track of, and I'm very vocal about, and I'll even remind people throughout the game. But if they want to put a die, they absolutely can. There's nothing I will never stop someone. I can't stop someone, right? That's the rules. But I'm also not required by the rules to put a die out. So I don't know. Maybe it's petty, but it can be relevant in the way people are sequencing things. I do end up straightening out the angle a little bit better on the next couple games. But obviously this is already much better than with the no down that we had last time. So pretty happy that everyone's very accommodating with moving off to the side and kind of we did just end up recording in the back. So I do need to work on the glare and placement for that. But yeah, just very grateful all my opponents in the shop being just completely fine with setting up in the back. Same plan here with AK in life. There he blocks the Sabo anyways. So there's a Sabo there in the top of the screen that he did play. So
I caught it. Yes, sir.
And obviously at this point I'm just kind of doing what I want to do. Kid into Newgate. That's just that's RP Luffy textbook, I guess you could say. And it's really like a frustrating loss for him. We were talking more about it after because he's doing what he needs to do, right? He's killing my bodies every single turn. But just the nature of the way my deck is built and the power increases work, it's just in my favor in this specific scenario. Like has the Ice Age just here. You see he's hitting them that he needs, but.
I'll spend 5 for T-Bone K on the gate.
Now we're here at 10. And I believe I jam a dragon, so I could keep the pressure on. He has the 1 blocker, so we jam that and see what it's all about. This is where last week when I was on the Purple Searcher again, I was on Kid and Killer over the dragon. And this is a massive scenario where, yes, he has 2 life, so the actual stats of the battle or of the characters would be the same. But the fact that it's a 8 cost 9k that's left over is just huge. And I did play in another event on Thursday, and I got my second AA Dragon. So we got one more piece of bling for the pet deck. And I believe he's now, yep, he's on 10 pound as well. But I'm just feeling pretty great here, especially with the Robin in my hand. I'm thinking if he goes for a Gecko Rebecca, I can pop it through my Gear 5 plan. And then basically anything else, is not really problematic. A Rebecca into a Sabo, I guess, would have been pretty annoying. But at that point, it probably just stalls me a turn. I just probably force those blockers. Not developing the Gecko probably doesn't put enough pressure on me, I don't think.
So if I do that, I get one. If I do that, I don't do anything. 5 to lead, activate Lucci, mill 2 -1, Dragon.
Sure. Dragon to 7.
4 to lead,
Dragon 6.
Dragon. Lobby, -2 Dragon.
Dragon's a 4.
Gecko's gonna get back a Rebecca and a.
He even pops my Dragon here too. He's doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? But just the early pressure and his inability to counter out of those first few swings was what gave me really a lot of reach here.
I wish I could play that last turn, but Dragon kind of, as a kid, kind of needed to get taken care of. I couldn't really play it.
To pop the Robin here, or the Rebecca with the Robin here is massive. The Robin tech I didn't like just for this reason, but with the Ein support has been just so great for me. I really like it. There was perfect, right? So just make him have it. 10K, 12, GG's. Yeah, like I said, great game, well played. It's just the pressure I had was just so immense when I take those early life off him. Round 2, Boa. I did play against this guy last week as well, but my camera died obviously. So here I believe he won the die roll and wanted to go first. We both make a couple little play mistakes in this game as we're kind of playing along. But yeah, Dofi off the Sengoku. I'll work on the glare a little bit more. I'm just happy I got the full board in the shot this time. And we'll continue adjusting here. My 2 beautiful SP Namis went into the glare. I already have a Zorajuro, so we go straight for the Gear 5 and a 2K. Love to see it. And he goes 3 right for the Doflamingo. Search 3. I'm always surprised at how often I see people just leave all 5 on top. Like, they'll obviously rearrange it, and maybe they are just always that good, or the card selection's that good, but or the knowledge is that good rather. But yeah, I've noticed that a lot of them just leave all 5 on top, just in a different order. Now round 4, go 7, and we use our last 3 for Zorajuro. Climbing up our curve just how we want to.
3 for Zorajuro.
Jinbei into Weevil. At this point, I'm like thinking, oh, we might have a pretty tough game here. That board present, the blocker early. I am getting a ramp, but I was a little bit like, all right, this might be a battle. 6K here. I'm really debating whether I want to counter out of this or if I want to take it. My only counter is my 2K right now. So I'm like, do I want to get rid of the Sanji for 6K when he's got that board? No. And Soul Sword Beam Sword actually triggers here, which actually this kind of catapults me ahead in a real way. Now we go to 7. Because prior I untapped to 6, and I have a kid in hand, so I want to play that kid. But if I'm going to play that kid, I have to swing a 4K Zorajuro, and it's just a dead swing, which isn't the end of the world. But we are an economy of cards in this deck, so every swing, every card matters, right? So here, being able to now start at 7, I get to put one on Zorojuro, swing. That actually puts me up to 8, which nets me an additional Don with my leader. So I could have swung 6 with Zorojuro, actually, if I was going for the kid. And actually, I think what I end up doing here, I was a little bit surprised that they blocked there and then 2K'd. I guess the 2K is the same either way if that was what he was going to counter with. And I consider swinging into the Doflamingo at this point. But I decide, okay, go for my leader effect. You know what? That blocker's down, and I have 8 down. We're just going to slam a dragon. I keep like double checking my math here because it just doesn't seem quite right. So actually good that I didn't swing the 6 with Zorojuro, I guess. But then yeah, I take 2 life there again. Now I am feeling great. He has to deal with this dragon one way or another. And, you know, we're pushing forward. I have that Gear 5 in hand, a Jambe. I'm feeling pretty strong right now. Almost trashed my Don there. Yeah, this matchup and the Doflamingo matchup, I haven't had too many reps on yet, but they feel pretty good for me. I think Doflamingo is probably a little bit more aggressive, and his high rolls probably hit a little bit harder. But the card advantage that Boa gets is its own problem as well. But yeah, he swings 9 in there, and I can just counter out, protect that dragon. It's a big swinger. Again, the fact that that's dragon and not kid and killer being massive. And not to mention the fact that I did take his cards. Oh yeah, the pudding here, perfect. I was thinking, I forgot that I searched the Gear 5, and he ripped a Gear 5 out of my hand.
I know you did. That's pretty bricked up. Oh yeah, I searched it. Right, yeah. Okay. Perfect 5.
Yeah, I forgot I searched it, but he didn't. So now my kind of, maybe not win secure, but my pressure is a little bit different now, right? But honestly, just a fresh 5. I don't know. I was joking against the last person I played with pudding. Like, I only have good cards, so it's all fine. But yeah, now I got Kid, Law, Newgate, Enclave, Jambe. Lots of options. I think at this point, yeah, he's in Law range, so I do that. I'm kind of thinking, like, my brain's saying hit Kaido or hit a big threat. Would love to see that. But actually, I think what I hit here was much better than hitting the Kaido or anything else. So now I get my 1 Don back. And I think I slammed the kid here. Oh yeah, I did, because this was my mistake. Swing the 9. And then I am debating a little bit more if I want to try and search for a... I'm trying to debate if I want to search for a Gear 5, or if I want to develop that body with the kid. I do the kid, I make my leader a 7K, and I pass, and I don't end up swinging with it. I'm getting too used to playing against Bonney, I guess, or resting down my stuff. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I missed a 7K swing. I look down, I'm like, oh, that leader's active. That's not right.
Oh.
And here he's kind of thinking how he wants to interact with me. How is he going to try and remove something from my board? I think they see a red rock in hand. The sequence was he ends up using the red rock, and it's a thing where I didn't try and take back my leader swing because again, I don't mark that 7K. So when people swing 6K into me, it happens, right? Especially like I said, winners tables feels like fair play against some of the tournament grinders I'm playing with. You'll actually see some of them in the later rounds. But here he's doing the red rock, and I kind of noticed that he doesn't draw off leader effect. But I didn't say anything immediately, but I wasn't positive how many cards he had in hand, right? So I was like, okay, you know, okay, he either doesn't have it or he forgot, doesn't matter. But then he like puts down this Dofi, and then he goes, oh wait, I didn't draw off of my leader ability, and I didn't even really realize it or notice it. That he was now, I thought he was already at 5 cards in hand, but no, he was at 5 after playing the Dofi. But then he forgot to use the Dofi leader, or ETB, so I guess it kind of broke even. If he played the Doflamingo first, he would have known what that card that he was going to draw was, I guess. So he could have just sequenced it differently. But yeah, he missed the scry, so I guess the improper ordering kind of punished him a little bit. Both had bad turns there. Stuff like that's got to be played tight.
Swing in 8,000 minus 1 to make my leader 7,000.
Blocks the 8,000 swing with the Newgate. I'm sorry, that kid. Now I'm kind of debating here. I'm thinking about these bond plays a little bit because what if
So now my leader's 9,000.
because what if he plays a Kaido? Those bond plays are massive. But no, just the Newgate being a 9,000 leader is just incredible. Like if I rip that blocker, he's got 1 life left. At this point, obviously, he doesn't have a ton of counter, else he'd be countering out and getting that hand size lower for Boa. And I guess that's something I probably should have noted a little bit earlier in the game personally. To be taking that life and keeping you above your leader effect threshold is not ideal.
I have 6 right now.
Gotcha.
I can activate his ability for turn.
So in this case, he didn't have the cards for the red rock draw, so that was fine. So now he's got a few down left over. He's kind of debating what exactly he wants to do. If I recall correctly, I think he swings into Kid. This is something I should have noted. I did take some note, guys, but I'm just kind of spitballing here as we go through. Yep, 10 into Kid. Okay. And we give him the 3, protect that kid, because we're basically going to go for a win now. So I start this turn off by going straight to a 6K Nami swing, because I want to get a 2K out of his hand, and I'm going to use the law for a later swing if I need it. But basically at this point I just look at math and how many cards he has in hand and how he's been taking the life. That boom, I take 2 2Ks there. Now I'm like, okay, well, this is great shape for me. Eden, probably gonna hit. Let's see, he has like a pitch counter and a 1K, right? So it takes that, and now we just go big leader. That was a good game. That's again my quick note here is I am building my case against Queen in real time. Just those first 2 games, right? When would I have taken 5 Don to draw and cycle 2 cards? In theory, it's great. Love to have it. Every once in a while it does come up in some matchups. Those are 2 removal heavy matchups, but with this deck, you want to be in the driver's seat and making them react to you. And then with that, there's other ways to play defensively, which you'll see along the way as well. So now we're 2-0. We're going into another Lucci matchup. He mulliganed. He's going second. I believe he won the die roll as well. So no stage. I didn't have a Nami, but I did have a Zoro. And again here, if he doesn't get to answer that, I'm very much in the driver's seat. I was actually going to swing vanilla. I was thinking about swinging vanilla with my Zoro Juro and then playing a raw Sanji just to have it out. But I could have swung more aggressively there. But nope, he had finger pistol and KOs my ramp on turn 2 again. So.
Kind of why I like this deck is I'm usually a little bit more comfortable.
So he's mentioned that he's not super familiar with this matchup. Here, I'm just wishing I had like a Miss All Sunday to push me through to the next turn. But I'm kind of debating this law if I want to make it into a vanilla. Just play out. I'm sorry, not a vanilla. If I just want to play it out without its effect with no -1, kind of rip 2 cards this way instead. You could say maybe there's a case there to just go right for the law effect and take 2 random cards. But I don't know. It was something that at the time I wanted to swing into him because I figure if he doesn't have the counter, doesn't want to counter there, I could potentially rip him a little bit harder. He does get to even KO my law with the Brook, so I did get punished for that line. Maybe I should have just minus the law real quick before I go too far. Maybe I should have just minus the law, but I was trying to play into the late game because I can't afford to get behind on Don against some of these meta decks. I have to play to the advantage of being ahead on Don and more powerful. And it is a very kind of aggressively slanted list, but there's a lot of kind of nuance and ways to buy yourself turns, and I love my counter package right now. So the fact that I didn't minus, I am able to now have that. Maybe without planning to use the law's effect, I should have just held the law for a counter, because in this case it really went to waste, and that could have saved me from a 1K later. And that probably was just better. Honestly, I was trying to be Don efficient or whatever. But maybe I should have just swung bigger with leader, connected, and then held the law for later. Actually, no, I think that's what I should have done. Yeah, all right. This is why we're here, right? So now swinging 7 in. We got Sanju's. I think I'm debating taking here just to have more action. Because right now I don't have anything in hand that really puts me in a driver's seat. So I take this just because I want to see a card. And then we trigger the Jet Gatling. Again, actually, I was thinking about that Jet Gatling trigger a few turns later, and I don't think that was right either. I didn't really need that done. Like we said, I mean, if I top deck something else, but at that point, I'm not feeling all that great. But at the same time, if I draw a real threat, which is one of my brick, what would be a brick, what I want to pitch, I wouldn't have that available. But here, if I had not done the activate, I would have had 9 down after my leader effect. I play this Nami, 8 left over, play a kid, and I still have 1 left over. And I have my kid on board.
The first 4 packs I bought was of 06, and I had an SP Rebecca when it was 160 still. That got me a slingshot into the game.
Oh yeah, we're talking about SPs. That SP Nami is one of my favorite cards. But yeah, here I have the 2 down up, but I would have had 1 up instead. Oh, I have a slow beam sword in hand, but I was trying to play 2 as well. I was hoping for an opportunity to slow beam sword to deny the Brook KOing on attack. Because if he has to swing with Lucci first, or he's planning to use that Brook to KO. So I was trying to leave 2 up for the slow beam sword rather. But realistically, having the Jet Gatling down the stretch here would have been pretty helpful. And then I don't even end up using the beam sword here. Yeah, he swung with the Brook first, so I was like, oh, that really doesn't do anything for me. And then he swings the Brook, and I want a 2K there, but I'm not going to use the slow there either. And then he has the Sabo. Perfect, yeah. And he develops a huge body at the same time. Yeah, that's a great play on 10 down there for him. So if I had a Jet Gatling in hand here instead of that 1 extra Don, that would have been pretty helpful down the stretch, I think.
I now have an 8,000 leader, and I will swing
And also here, I swing into the brook, and that's wrong. Pressure, life. Here, he basically got to have a 6K leader that turn for free. Um, maybe he doesn't protect it, maybe it's one less swinger down the stretch, but realistically, we drive. He only has 2 life there, we swing 8 into life. So if I had a Jet Gatling swung into 8 into life there, now he swings 10 into me. Oh look, a Jet Gatling would have got me out of that. And then Stussy crushes the Newgate. Brutal. All the answers, man.
And you KO'd the Brook?
Yeah, I can't.
Okay. And you said pass after that?
Yeah.
Alright. Active.
And I'm sitting here and I'm debating what to do to try and play through this. Actually, a pretty big decision here. I'm debating if I want to play my Newgate or if I want to play Mr. 2 and go for that line. I do end up landing on playing Mr. 2, and we'll talk a little bit more about how that goes for me. But here, it's tough because if I would swung into his life last turn and knocked him down to 1 life, maybe I could think about this a little bit differently. But the reason I end up kind of going this route is I want to rip a card, and that would have been a 9K. Maybe if I played Newgate, it would have been 8. Maybe he still takes that there, but I have one. Yeah, maybe Newgate was just better still. But even with that, I wouldn't have been able to slow beam sword, so that was the reason that I didn't want a Newgate. That was why I didn't want a Newgate. Yeah. But still, I think I should have held this Mr. 2. I don't know. I wanted to be an attacker back, but the fact that I just kind of get awkwardly played here. So actually, I want to talk through this because it's going to come up in another game too. The slow beam sword would have been perfect here if how most frequently you get swung into is they swing that 6K into you to get a card out of your hand. Then they pressure you with an 8K because they want to make you use a radical beam ineffectively. And then those later swings get donned up to push you over the edge, generally speaking. You might see that later, hypothetically. And to that end, I'm thinking here, if he swings with Brook first, I two don, rest the Stussy. That takes a 9K swing off the board. And then he has to think differently about that Sabo swing if I have a radical beam, whatever else I'm doing. But the fact that he swings Stussy first here, I don't have enough in my hand. If I had kept the Mr. 2 in hand, I could play around this because then I would be able to slow beam Robin and Mr. 2 to protect that life and rest Sabo here. And now he is on the back foot. Potentially he maybe still just dons and goes all in, but I think he now is looking to maybe develop his board further or do something differently. But then at that point I only have 1 attacker on board, and that's what I was trying to avoid. So it's kind of tough. I don't know, but it ends up being pretty, just the way he attacks here just really punishes me. And I was like, oh wow. You had no idea you were playing around slow beam sword, I think. So then I'm sitting here thinking, there's no way to counter out of this, but I'm trying to make him think I'm debating a radical beam. I actually ended up leaving the 3rd don up there for if this was a radical beam, and it wasn't. It was a brick. I know is Shanks for most other people, or that would have been a brick no matter what, right? If I had slotted that differently from being Ein. So.
Slow beam the rest of the other characters. But it's only +2 and I only had a 1. No mulligans.
Yep. So exactly, we started talking about it, and then I think we ended up talking about how it may not have mattered all that much. And realistically, with that board state after swinging to the brook, that really I think was the massive detriment. Or having the Jet Gatling, right? Easily could have been the difference maker there. So yeah, small decisions like that really cost you against these decks, especially when like a deck like Lucci High Rolls is brutal. But all right, we're jumping into game 3. I'm sorry, game 4. This is actually against the person who won the last league. Great player, Jason. Very knowledgeable. Always at the winners' tables. So it's pretty fast-paced, fun game here. I almost forget to put my life out. He saves me from getting destroyed in the comments on the second video. And I think he also won the die roll and chose to go second as well, Rich. So then here, I go 6K in.
We'll give you a 2K.
He 2Ks out. And I go for my Zorajuro. And the fact that he had that 2K,
Private lead, effect,
he gets to use leader,
20 Zorajuro.
go to 3 cards in trash, and then Lucci the Zorajuro. Just such a huge tempo swing to put him in the driver's seat and knock me off my ramp. And I was talking to him more about it after the fact, and he said in that line, even if he doesn't have a 2K, he's given me a 1K to that 6K swing and taken to life just so he can do that Lucci play. And I don't think I can really play around that. It's just it's the nature of the game and the deck at this time. But you know, it is a pretty specific line, and it did take some resources, so it's not game over. But man, I really wish I had a Miss All Sunday the second turn to push me through that. That's why I like that card so much. Then I would have a 5-cost 5K and draw a card here if I had a Miss All Sunday. And look, 2 Miss All Sundays are so close. Yeah. Now we got a Gear 5. Our second Gear 5, I think, was our only option besides the Nami, yeah. So it's a little unfortunate for us. I'm doing another 6. In here, I play another Vanilla Law. Again, I don't want to go behind on Dom, and I just wanted to kind of play out the resource. Here it ends up being a wash, because either way, it gets me out of a 6K swing. So if I held it in my hand, and I probably would have just countered with it instead. But then at that point, I could have swung in with Nami. So yeah, nope, just don't play that Law ever. Alright, so that was a good experiment. That's why you watch these back. Yeah, early Rebecca. I think Jason makes people uncomfortable with how fast he plays. Very sharp, very tight play. Doesn't make a ton of mistakes, and it shows. He's a very well performed in basically every event that I've been at. But we got our 7K leader with Kid right into the glare. That beautiful prize card gets put right in the glare. He just blocks the 7K with Rebecca.
5 into lead, leader effects, trash 5-2. And -1 to the Kid. And then let's do 8.
I think he's kind of bumping the table there. That's why it's vibrating. Hopefully it's not like making anyone motion sick. But yeah, that's a quick Gecko. Man, that line is just so brutal. But yeah, he gets to play a Gecko, get back a blocker, draw a card, pick up a card. I'm hoping, I'm be honest with you, with the ban announcement that Gecko goes down to 2-0. I've heard someone else mention that they think Rebecca might go. I don't also think I'd be okay with that maybe. But Gecko down to 2-0 seems what I think would be best personally. I don't think the deck card needs to go, but I think the consistency here and just the way that card functions is just so much value. Are you kidding me? 3 bodies, 2 cards. It could have been more. 9K leader. He's blocked. So yeah, he's still so healthy at this point. Pressuring back with the Geckos.
Any cards in hand? Got 6. Okay. Just want to make sure.
So I think he's mathing out. Does he play second Gecko here? I should have played another.
Let's try 2. And -1 the new gate. Let's then do.
Oh no, he doesn't. Yeah, no, I remember this now. I did take it out. Yeah, 13 into Kid. Tough. I really wanted that kid to live. 13. Can't get out of that.
6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's do. Time. Tempest kick. Draw 1. -3 to the new gate, making it a 5 cost. 1 for another Tempest kick. Draw 1. -3 to the new gate, making it a 2 cost. 4 for Lucci. Sending a Gecko, Jusho, and a Suru to the bottom.
What a turn. That wasn't even I wish Gecko was just a smaller body. That 9K is brutal with how much effect he offers. But yeah. The Tempest kick after the Gecko. I'm fighting uphill for sure.
Resting 7. 2 left over. 9. Set Gecko to 0. Turn.
And then we get to Ein Gecko kill.
And pass my turn.
And then I get to leave up with my Rad Beam. So right there, right, Shanks would have been great. I have a 12k body. But being able to leave a Don up here makes the whole sequence quite a bit different. If I have to tap out there, he's going all in on me. And I'm talking about it after the fact.
Six to lead. Leader effect trash top 2 to -1 Hein.
Yeah, the 6k Lucci's, swing into me, just ripping so many cards.
6 to lead. Let's do 6 to lead.
Now I'm forced to go for a Sanji 2k here to not go down to my last life. So I go down to my last life, he just can 12k me. Or it'd be 11k. Which, because I have a Don open to threaten a Rad Beam, that doesn't get through here. But I'm sitting here a little bit uncomfortable. I kind of wanted to take this life to, but again, I was a little bit afraid that he'd go 11k in, so I take that. 2k down, and then still has more removal for me. Oh yeah, he Gecko's this turn. Yeah, Second Gecko is brutal. I just use my Robin, so I don't have a Robin for the Rebecca.
Let's see, I need to count. Then I will trash, Helmbo, play the Spandine. I will send Tempest Kick over the bottom, and then I will play Spandine with a Lucci. It's in my trash, and then I will send Gecko, Tempest Kick, and Spandam to remove both.
And he kills both my bodies too. Oh my gosh. Brutal into Rebecca. And then he has 3 6Ks and a Gecko on board. Oh man. This is why Lucci's a tournament performing deck, that's for sure. It's just so frustrating because I could have even played slightly differently and got a little bit further, but man, he hit everything. He even said after the fact, right? He top half of his deck, 3 Tempest Kicks, 3 Luccis, 3 Geckos. I guess I die, Here I'm debating. Gear 5 is basically my only option. I'm trying to debate if I want to go face or go board. Both are looking bad when he's at 3 life. Would have loved to have a Robin there to pop the Rebecca, but nope. 7k in. He takes it, gets to the lobby, finally shows up. Go to the extra turn. Here I really wanted, that's why I wanted to hold on to Sanji, so I went down this line. I could have put down a 6 cost blocker, hypothetically. But remember, he has 2 Kakus in hand, so he just pops it. He just swings, he just taps lobby, swings with Lucci, and then Kaku's the blocker, so I have to block with the 6 cost into a 6k swing anyways. So it was no difference in the long run. That was the decision I was debating last turn. But now I do try and go into board just on the off chance I am able to pressure out. Obviously I can't kill him, so we have to try to not die. And that's not where we want to be.
Let's do 6 to lead.
And this again where he's smart, he knows to just rip those cards out of hand one at a time.
Let's do another 6 to lead.
It was just unfortunate. I didn't want to take that, but I can't give a Jet Gatling or a Radical Beam to a 6k swing with on board with a Gecko out swing coming. So we got that one, and then
13 to lead.
13, and I was 1k off. Goodbye. So yeah, that's just a high roll. And we started talking about if we had played out a little bit differently, but Yeah, with the Kakus, it didn't really matter if I held that Sanji or not. And he just played real tight, 2 Geckos, 3 Luccis, 3 Tempest Kicks. That'll do it. But yeah, final round here. We're now 2-2 going to the final round. Our friend Esteban's actually the opponent on this Bonney. He's actually the current first place person in the league. Also a great player. Was second place last league. Has won a previous league as well. Has been someone that helped me out a lot as I was getting into the game as well. So always fun to see him at the games. But yeah, I think he won the die roll and went second, if I recall correctly.
I'm okay with those balls. Those balls look great to me.
That's where my notes do fall off a little bit, but this game does have a massive finish. So if you guys are still with me, let's hear it for the Bonney matchup against the friend Esteban. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. I do appreciate anyone that's checking things out. If you made it this far, I really am grateful. I already got more interaction than I ever expected to. So, all right, turn 1. Start with Anami. And then he doesn't use his searcher, so I can't swing into it. Esteban's been having great success on this Bonney deck, really. And then he leaves the 1 up there to stop my searcher from being able to swing in to a searcher next turn. I play my Zorojuro. Swings into the Nami. Yep. And now he's got 2 searchers, and he's going to be able to have his Don up to rest me from. So here I'm already a little bit nervous. I'm like, dude, he's got so much gas. I can only remove 1 of them. I'm already nervous. Grabs the baby 5, so he has another searcher. And then he does end up using the Bonney. And I kind of realized as I was going through this and thinking about, like, okay, I can only get 1, right? So he played that extremely well. And I was like, okay, so I have to get the Bonney off board. The Cavendish, the Hawkins, the Kid, those are the cards I don't want to see here. So we have to get the Bonney off the board. Realistically here, we don't have our, we have our Zorojuro there. And I'm kind of just debating, like, do I even need to Don up my Zorojuro into a baby 5? Obviously, he's going to KO my leader, rest my leader. So I'm going to swing with Zoro because I want the Don. But now I'm just kind of sitting here thinking through, like, how do I want to play against this? So I did just go straight for the Law, rip a couple cards out of his hand. Because here I have the ramp, and I kind of have more ramp to come, maybe. So I just felt like ripping. There I hit 5k counter out of his hand. Like, that is huge. It's funny, against the Lucci deck, I just absolutely cannot afford to do that. But in this matchup, I was like, all right, I think we need to develop this blocker. And again, having this Law ends up being an attacker because he can rest my character. So being able to just have 1 more body ends up being a little bit relevant too here in the next few turns. I got that Bonney. He starts out with a baby 5 on board, going up to 5 Don, going for another search. Oh, 2 Basil's gone. Ooh, I love that. I feel so great about killing that Bonney now. So right now I have a Zorojuro and a Law on board. I don't realize how bad this player got in this game. It's a little unfortunate. We'll keep working on that. At least we got the whole Don on the field this time. I 2K'd out to save my Zorojuro to ramp back that Don from the Law. Of course, a Rouge on curve on top of everything. So now it's again, right? Like, all right, so he has his Don to rest. He has a blocker. This card advantage is going to get out of hand if I just let him stick 2 searchers. So we got to take some lines. I'm debating if I don't want to do the 4 in case he does want to block with the Rouge, if I want to rip a card by going 5k. But I didn't want to spend it down on that either. So he does block. He rests my leader. And I go, you know what? I want that Rouge off the board then. And I use my Law here to swing in and KO the Rouge, and I think this ends up being pretty impactful over the next couple turns, the way that played out. And I do play a second Zorojuro here. Again, just 1 more body, recouping my ramp here, and letting me swing more dynamically into these swingers. Most other games, I'm not playing that Zoro Juro. I'm holding that for a counter against most other board states and games. But two searchers, Bonney, I need to go wider. I really liked that Zoro play on this specific scenario. Hitting 2Ks off his searchers. I think we see some kids going to the bottom there. We'd love to see that. I make a joke about not having any Doflamingos. Apparently, he had them in hand already. Another baby 5. There goes another kid. Love to see it. Man, he had gas in his hand all game. The card advantage of those searchers is brutal. Another root too, man. This curve is frightful from him. And mine's not the best. I'm not playing those big bodies. But alright, now we're at 10 down. 3 searchers on board. We're thinking.
Oh, hey, Saba. What's up, bro? This is why we really cool for the baby 5.
I guess maybe I just swing 6 in there because I don't need the Don anymore. Didn't really matter, I guess. That scenario kind of goes the same regardless, I suppose. Oh yeah, it went straight for the gear 5. I did remember this now. It's a tempo play. People think it doesn't really come up that often, but now his Don's down, his Arouge is tapped, and we're gonna have a 12K body on board. Yeah, the tempo gear 5. This is where I still think that I know that Black Maria isn't gonna let me chain gear 5s every single game, but instead of an Otama, I'm not that dependent on Otama, so being able to have that 2K then reset my Don after a gear 5 is pretty good. Here, being able to play Mr. 2 to go up to 5 is also great. Especially as he's going into his later Don turns, right? If he slams something big, I'll have that Bond Clay that he has to think about. Seeing that he has a Zoro here, I'm a little bit surprised he didn't just go all in on the Zoro. Yeah, the Hody though, being able to take the Bond Clay off board is huge. Can't argue with that. Should I go back and double check that he took a life? No, I'm just kidding. I know that he did. I saw it. And 9 with the Hody hits.
Another one.
Second law here. Rip some of his cards again. So then that was another 2Ks. There's a 2K in a Rosinante maybe. I ripped a lot of counter off those 2 laws. It's pretty good. Going for another Nami. Get a Sanji. Yeah, he presses the blocker there. So now I'm debating. I thought I was going to leave the blocker up and rest my leader. So I'm debating if I want to try and play out a Sanji or do something else.
6 into life. Okay. That's a turn. Go 5 into life. 5 into life. So this is the life. What do you want? Go 8 into leader.
Doflamingo freezes my board down.
That looking good.
That's huge.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I think I got a Sanji and a Nami off to the side untapped. A Law, a Gear 5, and my leader were frozen by Doflamingo. And we slam a... Man, I don't know what I did differently here to make the glare worse. I think I was a little bit lower. I'll have to double check that. Sends into the 5K. Goes 8 into leader. Give him 1. Here, I radical beam the 10K into my 8 because I can't radical beam a 10K into my 6 next turn. I mentioned that I see him search with his baby 5 100 times, but apparently the Doflamingo was in hand the whole time. The night's winding down here. It's the last round, so it ends up getting a little bit louder in the background. Yeah, I'm sitting here like I really want this win because I get double points for this win, and he's in first, so knocking him down a win is also that's a 9-point swing for me on the leaderboard basically. Maybe I'll go through the league rules a little bit more next time, or at one of these breaks that we have. But yeah, Basil Rosinante. I'm like, okay, well, this is tough, even though things are untapping. Double checking the Rosinante wording. So I'm like trying to swing into one of them, but it doesn't really matter. I was thinking about trying to, Jambe into a body, but it's not really an option. I'm staring down a massive board that threatens very likely potentially lethal.
12 into life, KO.
So 12 into life. So yeah, I do go the aggressive route here. So you can tap down my 12K. So we send in 12K and get rid of the Rosinante.
Yeah, I played this just because we have a fin drop Luffy. So we forced to kind of make it be like that card.
So I
Was the tipping point for me to add in Robin. I already was like kind of wanted her for a backer or whatever, but Rosinante and Mr. 2, that's enough. Because I'm seeing that she's good. You're not doing Robin?
I am not.
Okay.
Because of Rosinante pushed it over.
Yeah, forces this and I can rest
So
that.
now my 12's down.
Hopefully, maybe.
I sent that 12 into life because if I send the 12 into one of the bigger bodies, he probably just KO, lets the Hawkins go down. Maybe that's still the more optimal way to go about this. But now I'm sitting here, I have 8 down, and I have a slow beam in hand and a Sanji. So do I play the Sanji is basically what I'm asking myself. Because if he has Hody, that's rough. Realistically, if he has Hody, I need to leave up 2 additional down. And man, I wish I could see exactly what those characters were. I think they're both Sanjis that I still have. I still have 2 blockers on board. So I'm like, well, he has to choose between my 2 down and my 2 blockers, or I have to leave up extra down to get out of this. So now he's doing a lot of math because he sees I only have 2 cards. He's got this big board. And he's figuring out if he can go for the throw here. Yeah, he's counting the 2 Sanjos. Yeah, there was 2 blockers.
You should know if he has at least one.
The signing is done. Figuring out. He's got me. Yep, so he's basically mathing out, saying he's got it. I'm following what he just walked through. He didn't really have to give me that sequencing, the turn play-by-play, but he kind of figured he had me mathematically beat. Because even if these are 2 radical beams, he does. But they aren't 2 radical beams. It's a slow beam. Sword. Slow beam sword. So I block this one. 6K happens. I'm like, okay. Okay, block with this one. Now he swings with the Hawkins. I say, you bet. We 2K out of the Hawkins. So it's a 7K swing and tap down the 10 cost. And that gives me, now he only has the Hody left. Even if he goes all in on Hody, it don't matter. And my last card's a Jambé even too. Yeah, if he had 4 down left over, if he had an Arouge, that would have been pretty annoying. But yeah, at this point, I think he ends up donning the Hody and swinging into something. Yeah, he does. He dons the Hody into the new gate, and I was like, "Ooh, that's tight."
That was good, dude. That was good.
He's such a tight player. He's already telling me out. He's like, "Now I'm just gonna play around slow beam sword next time." He's because he could have played more defensively, right, and developed his board instead of going for the lethal swing there. But the way I look at it, with the way that this format works, and the big tournaments are best of 1, so like, I only need to get you once, and that takes me to a serial card as far as I can really tell. Right, and my locals, they know how to play against me even better. That means it's a better reps. They're getting more reps against RP Luffy than most other people are. And I'm repping the late meta decks. So, yep, and then we just finish it with a 12K Nami. He starts dropping cards, and like, does he have it? It's pretty tough. So that was huge. So yeah, guys, excellent stuff. I appreciate everyone viewing. If you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to keep giving you more content as we go forward here. So we finished 3-2 on the night. Very strong showing. Got to tighten up against those Luccis with those high rolls. I need to be able to beat a Lucci high roll at least once or twice to get through a big tournament. So, yeah, excellent stuff. I appreciate it. Talk to y'all soon.